do it 3.
Hola, hola, buenos días, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Sí, lo siento estoy atrasada. Wow, I'm a bit late. Well, what happened? Zoom decided to install an update when I tried to turn everything on. And like, I didn't ask for this. Like, please wait. We're installing your updates. I'm like, I'm trying to get this meeting started. Install my update later. Apparently not.
That she does the polar bear plunge, but where did you do that, Trish?
In the pool in the backyard. We're talking about cold. You get in the cold water. It's real good for your body. And I've only done it 1 minute. My husband 3 minutes. I'm like out because you get it immediately. Your legs are numb, but it's good for you. You have to know what you're doing. I mean, you don't jump in all the way.
Wow.
Yeah, I hate cold water, but I'm trying to.
I know people who have done that, but I have never done it.
No.
I'm too chicken.
There's a special one with Chris Hims, and he got in water that was 37 degrees, but he was with the doc. But no way. Anyway, I take up time with that, but I always try to do stuff to get healthier.
Oh my. Wow. Qué difícil. Wow. Okay. Y gracias. Wow. Mark, the gods of Cox are cooperating with you today. Magnifico.
They are, although it did take them. They were on and off all day Monday and even a little bit yesterday, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
All that fun stuff. Yes, and I am hoping, still hoping for the fence. I have fixed my extra permit request. It is done, yay! But now we're waiting. Of course, everything will be ready when it starts to rain next week. We'll just watch. Okay. Bien. Okay. We've got some practice. Ooh, we've got some warm-up stuff too. Okay. Lo que vamos a hacer, what we're going to do. We're going to have some few warm-up drills before we throw you in the deep water. There you go. There's my lame analogy to the polar bear thing. We'll do ¿cuál es el orden? Wow, what's the order I have here? The order I have is that we have a short listening bit first on preterito, just examples to get our feet wet again, because it's hard to get started after you've been off for a bit. Y hola, Pam. Hi, Pam. This is going to sound like pretty advanced, Pam, probably for you, but hey, no problem. You can listen in, see what you're comfortable or not with. Lo que pasa. What we're going to do is we're going to hear a little something on the Shorts channel. That is just going to talk about something that many of us do on a daily basis, and it's going to give some examples of what, again, all those preterito forms sound like. So this will be short. I hope I can get this to start from refresh. Let's hope.
Preparemos un café y escuchemos los verbos en pasado. Esta mañana llené el hervidor con agua, lo tapé, lo conecté al tomacorriente y lo prendí. Bajé el cono de vidrio y el molinillo. Saqué un filtro de papel y lo doblé. Lo puse con cuidado en el cono de vidrio. Abrí la bolsa y usé una cuchara medidora para sacar un poco de café en grano. Puse el café en el molinillo y lo prendí. Enjuagué el filtro de papel y vacié el agua. Puse el café molido en el filtro y lentamente vertí el agua caliente en círculos. Apagué el hervidor y desconecté todo. Luego serví mi café en el pocillo y me senté a tomarlo.
Okay. Wow. And that all went pretty fast, didn't it?
Yes, it
But,
did.
Yeah,
and
Marilyn, can I ask the group a question if that's okay?
sí, claro, sí.
I'll admit that I personally would have preferred to listen to that, like setting the speed to 3/4. Is anyone else kind of like with me that, and feel free to say that this was easy for you, but I just don't
Okay.
know.
Slow it
would've-
down.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was like, as I was reading it, I
Yeah.
could see that a lot of you, maybe even most of the words I understood, but as she was saying them, it was just too
Sí.
much for me to just translate in my head.
Okay. Bueno, gracias. Thank you. Yes. This is from the Shorts channel. And I think these either are originally on TikTok, which I'm not on, or they're just, I don't know. They're called Shorts. And when they say short, they also mean short and fast. Okay. It's a double whammy. My plan was to play this twice, but I need to be very, very quick and stop because unlike the regular YouTube channel where you can click on the gear and slow it down, this one does not have a slow it down gear.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, I will tell you, para que sepan, just so you know, she is talking at a normal speed, but it will sound like it's coming at you at, machine gun pace. Yes, it does sound that way. So I'm going to play that again. And we're going to, we're going to stop it to kind of analyze it because it has lots of very good short snippets and it's that sequence. It's the example of using preterito past tense to talk about sequence of events. First I did this, then I did this, then I did this, next I did this. And some of them are regular and some of them are irregular. So it's kind of nice to see those. Let's kind of replay that. I'm going to try to be really fast and stop it. Does that work for everybody? Give me an actual yes, because if you're nodding, I can't see you because I've got a bunch of screens.
And thanks for everyone listening to me admit my kind of my shortcoming here.
No te preocupes, Marcos. No, do not worry about that ever, because this is a very normal way to feel. So, don't feel like, this channel in particular goes fast. So
Even Marilyn, even this sentence up there, y me siente a tomarlo, and she feels like drinking it? Is that what that's
no, that is sentarse, to do this.
Oh, she's sitting down to drink it.
Okay. So that is it. Okay. So now remember, we also have these two verbs, which are almost identical. They're both stem changing in presente, not in preterito all the time. But we've got sentarse, an AR verb, which means to sit down. And we've got sentirse, to feel a certain way, like me siento muy feliz de verlos aquí. I feel very happy to see you here. Okay. But this is from sentarse. Okay. How do we know? Because as a preterite, it means, that came from an AR verb.
Okay.
Yeah. So I sat down to drink it. Okay. I'm going to try to be really, really fast with the pause button. Wow. And it just replays.
Preparemos un café y escuchemos los...
Preparemos el café. Oh, this is a command. Preparemos el café. Let's prepare coffee and let's listen to verbs.
Los verbos en pasado. Esta mañana llené el hervidor con agua.
Esta mañana llené el hervidor con agua. And you can't see the accents quite as well here because of just the type. Llené el hervidor. Hervidor es el envase azul. La cosa azul, sí, es el hervidor. Hervidor es una cosa eléctrica en la cocina para hervir, boil, para hervir agua. Okay. Hervidor comes from hervir, to boil. So let's look at the context first. And the context is she's talking about a device that boils her water, which like an electric teapot, kind of. These devices are much more common in Europe and Latin America. There are fewer people in the States who have specifically like an electric teapot or something just for boiling water for coffee or something like that. But yeah, hervidor is a thing that does the action of hervir, boiling. So dor is always a person or a device, a thing that does the job of the verb it's talking about in the beginning. Hervidor is something that boils your water. Okay, so now let's look at the rest of it. Esta mañana, now we're telling the time frame, this morning. Llené, I filled. Llenar es to fill. So llené, I did it, but here's the first thing I did. And we're knowing she's going to tell a sequence because she's got esta mañana, this morning. So here's, instead of saying primero, first, she just started with a context and time, esta mañana, this morning. Llené el hervidor, I filled the boiler, or the thing that boils the water.
Agua, lo tapé.
Lo tapé. Oh, you saw her do something. Tapa is a lid. A lid. What do you think tapar means?
Close, screw on, and I don't know.
I put the lid on. Yeah, literally, tapar is to cover up with a lid. Okay. Tapar. So tapar, AR verb, we make it preterite. Lo tapé. I put the lid on.
Lo conecté al tomacorriente.
Lo conecté. I did something too. Conectar is
To connect.
to connect. So, okay. And she has some very Colombian terms here. Toma corriente is your outlet. Your electric outlet. Okay, so lo tapé, I put the lid on. Lo conecté, I connected it or plugged it in, we would say. When we got one more. So look at the series of events.
Corriente y lo prendí.
Lo prendí.
She turned it on.
I turned it on. Prender. Prender is one verb that is often used to mean to turn something on or to light something, like if you have candles. So anytime you hit an on button, we can use that verb prender. We can use prender con, por ejemplo, prendí el televisor para ver mi programa favorito. O, por ejemplo, prendí la luz, I turned on the light. Aquí prendí, prender. Okay, prender, to turn on.
Bajé el cono de vidrio y el
Bajé el cono de vidrio. Bajar is to go down, but now bajar means she's taking it down.
Oh.
See? Yeah. So bajar can mean to get out of a vehicle. Bajar can mean to go down like stairs. Bajar could mean to come down like shimmy down a tree if you climbed a tree. See? Bajar can mean to take it from up high onto and bring it down. Bajé el cono de vidrio. Y el molinillo. Molinillo is a grinder, something that grinds, like your coffee. Okay.
Molinillo. Saqué un filtro de papel
Saqué un filtro de papel. That comes from sacar. Sacar, to take something out. So saqué, I took out. Saqué un filtro. I took out a filter. Okay, bien. And sacar gets a funny little spelling change. Notice, because sacar is S-A-C-A-R, sacar. But if I spelled it S-A-C-E con acento, it would have to be pronounced like sase, because C-E makes an S sound, right? Sase. And we don't want it to sound like sase because it's from sacar. So to keep that k sound, when I make the yo form here in preterito, I have to spell it differently. Sacar. Most of you, if I had just told you without showing you the letters, make sacar into a yo form, you would say sacar, form, saque. And that's right, but you have to spell it differently. We have to spell it Q-U to get back to the k sound, okay? Because C-E sound for S-A-C-E would make the wrong sound. So, saqué, that's just an irregularity in spelling. Saqué un filtro de papel.
y lo doblé.
Y lo doblé.
Now to fold it.
And I folded it. Doblar can mean to turn, like when you're walking or driving, doblar. And doblar also means to fold over. When you think of it, a turn is kind of folding. Yeah, it's pointing in a different direction, right? So doblar, doblar, nice AR verb. Muy regular. Doblé, lo doblé.
Lo puse con cuidado en el cono de vidrio.
Lo puse. Now we've got our first true, irregular preterite. Lo puse. It, I put. Con cuidado, carefully. With care, carefully. Lo puse con cuidado en el cono de vidrio. I put it in the glass cone. Okay, cono de vidrio is the cone. She uses this type of coffee maker. And puse sure does not look right to come coming out of the verb poner with an N, poner, but poner is one of those odd verbs that has a very different stem, right? Poner, P-O-N, becomes P-U-S for preterito. Puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusieron, okay? So that follows poner. If it's going to be irregular for just poner, that verb for put on, like clothing, will also be irregular the same way. Me puse los zapatos. I put on my shoes. No me puse las gafas. I did not put on my glasses. No me puse las gafas. Okay? Así. So, ponerse will get the same treatment as poner. So, let's see her next activity, her next sequence.
Abrí la bolsa y usé una cuchara medidora.
I was not fast enough. Abrí la bolsa. I opened, and I can't just turn it back. Abrí la bolsa. I opened the bag and I put in my measuring cup. Medidora is a measuring cup. Okay.
Para sacar un poco de café en grano.
To take out a little bit of coffee beans. En grano means it hasn't been ground up yet. En grano means it's the whole grain. And I don't really think of coffee as being a grain. Maybe you don't either, but en grano would mean the whole bean. Okay, so that you will not hear people using frijole, bean, to talk about coffee.
Oh.
Buen punto. Wow, this is a good vocabulary point. When we talk about something that you grind up, or, let's think, also, if you were, if you were taking corn off the cob, right? Grating down or cutting off all of the corn pieces. Those would be called en grano. Grano. Okay, they're grains, and they think of it's phrased this way for whole bean coffee, café en grano. Okay, so they won't use that word bean. That frijole is a certain kind of bean, so they don't use that word to talk about coffee bean. En grano, café en grano.
Puse el café en el molinillo.
Puse el café en el molinillo. I put the coffee in the grinder. This is the mill, right? Puse, again, it's the same one. Puse, I put. And we've got that prendí again. I did what? I
Turned it on.
turned it on.
Y lo prendí. Enjuagué el filtro de papel.
Enjuagué el filtro. Enjuagué. Enjuagar means to make it wet, to soak. Like we might say soak or just dampen. Yeah. And agua is kind of buried in there. You can sort of see enjuagar. I soaked, I got the filter wet. Oh. Y vacié el agua.
Papel y vacié el agua.
Vacié is doing what?
Yeah, pouring out.
Emptied.
Oh, like vacant.
Okay. Vocabulario. Okay. A ver, como adjetivo, as an adjective, vacío means empty. Lleno means full. Vacío means empty. So the verb to empty, meaning you dump something out, is vaciar. Vaciar, muy regular. We just take vaciar. We take off the air. Vacié, I emptied. I dumped out the water. Okay.
Agua.
Marilyn, what did you say the adjective for full?
Vacío. Vacío means empty. I'll spell that out for you later. That's a super useful word because it's a word we use a lot. The glass is empty, the glass is full. We've got that kind of thing going on, but vacío. Okay. A ver.
Café molido en el.
Puse el café molido en el filtro. I put the ground up. Molido means ground coffee. I put the ground coffee, not en grano, no. Molido, ground up. Puse el café molido en el filtro. I put the ground coffee in the filter.
El filtro y lentamente.
And slowly.
Vertí el agua caliente en círculos.
Vertí. That one might be a little bit harder for you to guess. Yeah. Pour. Yeah. Pour it out. Right. Vertir. Okay. A ver. Okay. Pam. Perdón. A ver. Okay.
Apagué el hervidor y desconecté.
Apagué. There's the opposite of prendí. Opposite of prendí, the on button, is apagué. So if prendí is turned on, apagué is I turned off. Yeah. I turned off. Apagué. It comes from apagar. Apagar is to turn something off. Okay. Apagué la luz. I turned off the light. Apagué el televisor. I turned off the TV. Okay. Apagué el hervidor. I turned off the water boiler. Sí. Y desconecté. I disconnected everything.
De todo. Luego serví mi café en el.
Luego serví mi café. Later, I served. Serví, yo, sí, I served. Bien. And, en el pocillo, I think this is a Colombian thing. Oh, pocillo is usually a bowl. Yeah, here it means mug. Here it means mug. En el pocillo, okay.
El pocillo y me senté a tomarlo.
Y me senté a tomarlo, and I sat down to
Drink it.
drink it. Yeah. See? Okay. Bien. And I'll send you that short so you can listen to it again. It is rapid fire. So Marcos, you're not off base at all thinking that is kind of machine gun fire.
And I guess when you played it back just now so slowly, I realize now part of it was there's a lot of sort of, frankly, there were more words than I sort of noticed the first time that I had no idea what they were. You know, some of the sort of colloquialisms almost.
Yeah. Some of it was vocabulary issues, which is okay. On occasion, she'll throw out a word that is more, really more used in Colombia than other places. But you know, it's interesting. Most of that stuff you can pick up from what she visually shows you. But you do have to, you're right, kind of pause it to give yourself time and give your brain time, to catch up. But one little listening thing, and I'll send you the link for that. Vale la pena escuchar otra vez. It is worth the effort to listen to it another couple of times. One thing that is good for you to listen for is, and this is a listening comprehension thing, because you guys are still learning. It takes a very long time to get accustomed to this preterite tense and imperfect. You know, you will start, if you listen an awful lot, you will start to hear, oh, they're talking in the past. But it's kind of thing of your mind's got to be in gear to let that wash over you, right? Por ejemplo, for example, vaciar. I hear somebody saying vacié, when I first started getting used to preterite, I myself, I was, vacié, that's a preterito. It must be vaciar. It must be vaciar. And I knew vacío was empty. It must mean you're pouring something out, dumping it out, yeah? Okay, so vaciar is not really to pour something super carefully. It's dump it all out, just empty the whole thing. Así es. Okay. Okay, a ver. We're going to do a second listening, which this is going to be way easier. Oh.
But before you move on, could you just want to clarify? Vaciar, I guess you just said to empty out. But what was the word for the verb and the adjective for like to fill and full?
Sí. Okay. Voy a escribirlo. I'm going to write it so you can actually see it here. Okay, you can see my board, right? If I can move all this stuff out of the way. Aquí. Okay. A ver. Okay. Vacío. And it booted me out of my keyboard. Let's try that one more time. Vacío means empty, the description. Okay. And the verb is not too far off from that, vaciar. And you'll notice they keep this little E sound in the verb, vaciar. Vaciar means to empty, or we might say dump out, okay? Because vaciar is usually not going to be like a careful, slow pouring out. It's plop and done, right? Vaciar. So there is your adjective vacío versus vaciar el verbo. And a lot of words do this in Spanish, not all, but a lot. There are a lot of words that are connected. You'll see, you'll know an adjective, and then suddenly you'll hear somebody using that word as a verb. So here's another one that is similar. Lleno means full. Okay. And the verb form of that is llenar. Okay. Vaciar, regular, very regular verb. How do I know that? I just know it from hearing it a lot. Honestly, there's no way you can memorize this all. It's just from experience and hearing it. Llenar, muy regular, very regular. Both of those verbs are going to follow all the general rules you've ever learned about verb forms. Okay, so vacié, I emptied. Vaciaste el bol. Did you empty the bowl? See? Llenar, llené, I filled something up. Llenaste, did you fill something up? Right? Llenó, llenamos, llenaron. There you go. Okay. Does that help? See?
Yes, thank you.
¿Te ayuda? Okay, vale. There are a lot of verbs that will do that. And, maybe we should do a little session on that. That's actually kind of helpful sometimes, isn't it? There are a lot of verbs that'll have multiple forms where one word will just morph into different functions. Okay, so a word may serve as a noun, may serve as a verb. It depende. Okay. Magnifico. Okay, we're going to move on to, because it really helps after a couple of weeks off to listen to something slower too. Momento. We're going to take a tidbit from our Frida Kahlo, the next chapter. Yeah, see? And this is going to go super slow.
Good.
Les prometo, I promise you guys, muy lento. This one is very, very, very slow. I only took that one first, the short one that went super fast first, because it kept to one tense, which is preterito, straight event. It was done and it was over. Whereas this one is going to mix the two. Right? It's going to mix the done and over preterite with the imperfecto, which is either description or repeated actions, habitual actions, right? In that category. So once we start mixing the two tenses, we've got to be starting to think in two conjugations, which is much harder, even though this is a slow thing. Well, maybe this will wind up being easier. But you've heard the first two episodes in this. So let's get the next episode. Ooh, and I need to get my other thing off. Momentito. Problemas con Zoom. Aquí. Okay, a ver. Aquí vamos. Here we go. And she's going to go nice and slow. And volumes always change. So let's see if we got a good volume.
Fue Diego Rivera. Y
¿Quién fue Diego Rivera? I'll back that up again because I didn't have my subtitles on to help you.
fue Diego Rivera.
¿Quién fue Diego Rivera? Who was Diego Rivera? Este es episodio número 3. This is episode number 3. Okay. En episodio número 3, ella va a hablar del esposo de Frida Kahlo. Ok. Episodio número 1, ella habló de la infancia de Frida Kahlo. La infancia. Episodio número 2, ella habló del accidente de Frida Kahlo cuando ella era adolescente, when she was a teenager. Y ahora ella va a hablar del esposo de Frida Kahlo, Diego Rivera. By the way, as a side note, Diego Rivera, at the time they were married, and before and after for a long time, Diego Rivera was really the top dog in that relationship. Well, all the way through. But Diego Rivera was worldwide Extremely well known in the art community, Diego Rivera. Almost always. He was a sensation from the time he was a young person through midlife to into his old age. Of those two people who were a married couple, Diego Rivera was the better known of the two during their lifetimes. Okay. And oddly, well, partly because Diego Rivera was part of a big art movement in mural painting, which was done, of course, to decorate very large buildings. And here in the States, in the 30s, 1930s, 1940s, that was a big thing with the Depression era public artworks. There were a lot of public artworks that were done to decorate public buildings, and similar things happened all over the world. So this thing of decorating entire interiors of public buildings became a thing that was super popular. And this was Diego Rivera's, this was his thing, mural painting. And he was
Detroit Art Museum.
Yes, he did a very famous one in Detroit. He was a very actually, the two of them were very controversial, both of them, through their lifetimes. But he was the better known of the two professionally during their lifetimes. And most interesting is that after their deaths, it's like Frida acquired greater fame after her death than she had during her lifetime. She was known as a painter, but not at the level that Diego was. So, Diego Rivera.
¿Y por qué fue tan importante
Why was he so important
en la vida de Frida? Hoy lo vamos a averiguar.
We're going to check it out.
Diego Rivera nació
He was born
en Guanajuato, un pequeño estado de México. Nació en el año 1886. Fue un pintor.
He was a painter. Fue un pintor. He was a painter, because now he's dead. And we're just saying what he did.
Pintor mexicano muralista.
Now she is more specific about the style of painting he did. Muralista, a muralist, someone who paints very large works on walls.
Muralista significa que pintaba en paredes gigantes, muy, muy grandes.
And notice she switched to imperfecto because he did this over and over throughout his life. He used to paint. What she means is he used to paint. So it's pintada. He used to paint on gigantic walls.
Estos murales los pintaba en edificios muy importantes de México.
So he used to paint these in very important buildings, public access buildings almost always. And his paintings are still up. His murals are still up in a lot of those public access areas in Mexico.
Diego se convirtió en un artista.
Se convirtió comes from convertirse. I don't think we've talked about convertirse. Well, that sure looks like an English word. It looks like
Convert.
convert. And it is. It is. But we would not use the word convert to express that idea. But it's very much related. He became. Ow! This is one of the maybe 6 different ways to say became. Yeah, nothing like confusing you, is there? But convertirse means to become, and to become in the sense of this happened as a gradual process. Okay. He became, and that's the past tense of convertirse. Se convirtió. He became an artist. Turned into.
Muy, muy importante en México. Diego ganó un premio.
Ah, ganó un premio. Ganar, to win. So he won a prize.
Ganó el premio de ciencia y arte en 1950. 1950. Frida y Diego se conocieron en
Conocerse. Conocerse here means met for the first time. Se conocieron. We put it into pretérito because when you meet somebody only the first time, that means it has to be pretérito, not they knew each other. The se means each other here, each other. Se conocieron, they met each other, not they used to know each other, but they met for the very first time. She's going to tell when.
En 1928, Diego y Frida se conocieron por una amiga en común.
They met through, we would
Friend.
say the word mutual friend, but mutual friend becomes amiga en común. Okay?
La italiana Tina Modotti, ella, que era una fotógrafa que estaba viviendo en México.
La italiana, the Italian lady who introduced them. She worked as a what?
Photographer.
Yeah, she used era. She used to be a photographer who was living in Mexico. Okay.
Y era amiga de Diego y era amiga de Frida.
She was a friend of Diego and she was a friend of Frida, both.
Antes de conocerse, Tina y Frida eran modelos de Diego.
These two ladies were
Model.
models. And notice that word modelo is kind of an oddball word in Spanish. Modelo is always modelo, whether it talks about a man or a woman or a thing.
Oh.
It just is. It just is. So modelos is not an error. It is not modela. It is always modelo, la modelo, or el modelo, depending on if you're talking about a man or a woman. Okay, so they were both models. Painters often have models.
Eran sus musas.
They were his muses.
Conocieron cuando Frida tenía 15 años.
Oh, they met for the first time when Frida
Was 15.
was 15. And you're going to notice that age difference. Wow. Okay. Yes, he was kind of robbing the cradle.
Y Diego tenía 35. Frida apenas era una estudiante.
Apenas means scarcely. She was barely just a student girl. Yeah, I know. Yeah, she's kind of rolling her eyes at that too. You know, if they were both much older, nobody would roll their eyes. But you know, at that age, 15, you know, yeah, right. Yes, he was robbing the cradle. Well, this happened in those days.
Y Diego ya era un ícono en todo México.
Diego ya era un ícono when they met. And yes, we can see this is happening here. She was a model. He was the painter. Ya era un ícono. He was already an icon. So he was already Mr. Big famous painter when she met him. He being much older, sí, él tenía más de 20 años más que Frida. Yeah, he was 20 years older than she was. She was just a kid. Yes, she was.
Ninguno de los dos
Neither of the two, neither one of the two
imaginaría
would
lo
imagine,
grande que sería su amor.
neither one of them would imagine how big their love would be,
Y
how
que
great their love would be.
terminaría de forma muy trágica.
And terminaría, and that it would end up kind of badly, tragically. Well, yeah.
Frida fue la primera en enamorarse de Diego.
Frida was the first one to fall in
Yeah.
love with Diego.
Las amigas de Frida no entendían porque pensaban que Diego era
Her friends didn't understand. No entendían. Her friends didn't understand. And we can't make that understand into preterito because, well, they just didn't understand for a very long period of time. We don't know how long. This is description. Her friends didn't understand because they thought that Diego was, well, look at her face.
Fat.
15-year-old girls, their girlfriends. Yeah, they're looking at that saying, look at all these other guys you could have, Frida. And you got this guy.
gordo y feo.
Yeah, well, okay, let's admit it. He was not like the jackpot of, he was not Hugh Jackman looks. He was not, he was not George Clooney looks. No, he never was. He was not, but he was very famous, right? But, a 15-year-old isn't kind of going to care that much, except she was, because she was interested in painting, of course. So the fact that he was a big deal painter was a big thrill for her. Her friends are like, seriously, you want to be with this guy.
Pero Frida estaba muy enamorada de Diego.
And again, description, how she felt. She was very much in love.
La historia de amor
The love
de
story
Frida y Diego
of Frida and Diego
fue muy buena,
was,
pero al mismo tiempo muy mala.
it was both really good, but really bad. It was a big roller coaster relationship all the way through.
Se casaron.
Se casaron. They got married. Casarse, to get married. Se casaron. And you will only hear, you usually hear this in preterite because people talk about they got married, or maybe you're going to get married. Va a casarse.
2 veces.
They got married twice. Because there's that huge speed bump in the middle. And twice. Okay. Se casaron 2 veces, and that's got to be preterite because it's a specific number of times. Se casaron 2 veces.
Y las 2 veces, los dos tenían otras parejas.
Oh, and both times they had other. Pareja is a couple. They had other partners. You can see this became a very messy relationship. Okay.
Fuera del matrimonio.
They had other partners outside of the marriage. Okay. So in other words, they both fooled around a lot. Okay. Bien. And on Diego's side, a lot of these guys then, and it happens now, you're painting nude people all the time because this is what painters do. And this is the real thing. And there's a lot of nude posing because people do have to practice painting the human form. And there is a great deal of nude posing. Well, of course, the field's wide open, baby. Yeah. When you're a guy and you're very famous and you're painting a lot of naked ladies, wow, you're going to meet a lot of people. So there you go.
Los dos hablaron y decidieron que eso estaba bien.
The two of them talked about it and they decided that that was going to be okay. So how? They were like, wow, they were in an open marriage. Essentially, they were. And then she doesn't even tell one of the juiciest parts, which I'm withholding because she may tell it later in a later episode.
Pero la verdad es que era más por Diego que por Frida.
But the truth was that this open marriage had many more opportunities for Diego than it did for Frida. Although Frida did have one very famous lover, and I'm not going to steal her thunder in case she does it next episode.
Frida no estaba muy feliz.
She was not very happy. Yeah. So description, estaba. I can tell you, she was not very happy for a long, long time. So yes, estaba is
Con la
appropriate.
idea, porque Frida no quería tener otras relaciones. Frida era una mujer muy empoderada, muy fuerte, y Frida no permitía que Diego le gritara.
Frida was, in spite of this agreement to something she wasn't really that crazy about, the open marriage thing, she was a very headstrong person. She was not a simple doormat. Okay. So, we may say, oh, poor Frida, Diego's fooling around, but, she kind of was like, do her own thing as well. She was a strong-headed person. She did not allow Diego to yell at her. No permitía que Diego le gritara. He did not allow her, or she did not allow him to just yell and push her around.
What is empoderada?
Empoderada, empowered. So she continued professionally and personally to do her own thing. She was very strong-willed, in spite of the fact that she was cheated on, in spite of the fact that this was not really what she wanted. She was not really, like you would imagine somebody to be, sort of a doormat type person, step on me. But she really did her own thing professionally. She continued to do her own painting, to have her own life. So we should not look at her purely as a victim, although certainly there was sadness and unhappiness in that marriage, but she was not, she continued to do what she wanted to do through that situation.
Nunca permitió que Diego la tratara mal.
She never allowed Diego to treat her badly.
Por eso, cuando descubrió que Diego era infiel
When she discovered that Diego was unfaithful
con otras personas,
with other people,
Frida decidió hacer lo mismo.
Frida decided, well, two can play that game. Decidió hacer lo mismo. She decided to do the same. So, yeah, her counterattack was okay, you're going to take on lovers. Well, two can do that. I can do that too. And is that a healthy relationship? Well, I would not call it that, but yeah. That's why it's an interesting story.
Después, Diego y Frida, ya casados,
Already
se
married.
mudaron a Estados Unidos.
Se mudaron a Estados Unidos. Mudarse is a special verb. Mudarse means to move. And not like I'm moving my hand. Mudarse is to move your place of residence. Okay.
That's a bad map.
Isn't that a terrible map? Estados Unidos, no. Es un mapa terrible de Estados Unidos. Oh, she's got Baja California in there. Yeah, but yeah. ¿Dónde está Florida? ¿Dónde está Michigan? ¿Dónde está Maine? Ay, no existen. Es mal mapa. It's a really bad map. Okay. Se mudaron. Mudarse, to move your place of residence. So se mudaron, preterito. That's almost always going to be preterito because we don't do moving very gradually, do we? Yeah. So you'll hear that usually in preterito.
Pero ¿Será que se adaptaron? ¿Qué pensó Frida de Estados Unidos? Ve el próximo episodio para averiguarlo. Y
they're going to tell you what she thought of living in the United States. And I believe what prompted them to live in the United States was his commission to do artwork in Detroit. But I believe they also lived in New York, Nueva York. Sí, creo que sí. So they lived in a few cities in the United States, and they did for a while. She did have very strong opinions about that, which you'll see in the next episode. Okay. Bien? Vale.
Bien.
Okay. But you'll see how she flipped between pretérito imperfecto, pretérito imperfecto. Se mudaron, they moved. Se casaron, they got married. You know, certain events are better expressed with this thing happened and it was over with, pretérito. Other events, no estaba muy feliz. She wasn't very happy. No quería tener un matrimonio abierto. She didn't really want to have an open marriage initially. Okay. Descriptions and not descriptions. Depende. Okay. A ver, and I'll send you both those links so you can listen to that again as it goes on. Okay, let's do some práctica. A ver, we're going to play a little game. And I think we'll do this maybe together this time, see? Maybe not in small groups, see? Bien? So we can kind of bounce ideas off because, yeah.
No
Everybody-
tengo mi notas.
Está bien. Está bien. No importa mucho. Ok. Vamos a practicar un poquito. We're going to create some ideas here. Conversación del pasado. And you may want to mix them. Meaning mixing imperfecto and pretérito. You may want to just give a what happened or a how somebody was feeling. It's wide open. Okay. ¿Qué pasó antes de la escena en la foto? What happened in the scene before the photo was taken? Estas fotos, todas las fotos son de películas famosas. Bien, son de películas famosas. You can be as literal or as figurative as you want. Son películas muy conocidas. Aquí ¿cuál es la película que vemos aquí? ¿Cuál es la foto? ¿De qué película viene la foto?
Forrest Gump.
De Forrest Gump. Bueno, a ver, entonces, una película muy conocida. Bueno, y aquí tenemos una foto de Forrest Gump. ¿Dónde está Forrest? ¿Dónde está en la foto? ¿Dónde está?
En el parque.
¿Está en un parque o quizás en una parada de bus, de autobús? Ok, sí. Bien, sí. Está en un banco. He's on a bench. Está en un banco. Ok. Bueno, ¿qué pasó? Y, ¿con quién está con Forrest? ¿Quién está con Forrest?
Él era un soldado. He was a soldier. Él era.
Sí, era soldado, sí. He was a soldier, sí. En la película, sí. Pero aquí en la foto, ¿quién es la persona? Aquí. Primero, ¿sí? Y sí, puedes hablar más tarde de ser soldado, sí. Ok, pero aquí ahora, ¿quién es la persona sentada, ¿sí? Al lado de Forrest.
Una mujer.
Sí, es una mujer. Es,
Let's see, no conoce. No.
Forrest no conoce a la mujer,
Sí.
¿verdad? Sí, es una mujer desconocida, pero ella está sentada al lado de Forrest. Los dos están esperando, en la foto, los dos están esperando el autobús.
El autobús.
Están esperando el autobús en la foto. Okay, ¿qué pasó antes? We had an idea. We're gonna return to this. There are many things you could talk about. Forrest, la idea de, otra vez, la idea de soldado, soldier idea. Otra vez, again?
Forrest juega ping pong.
Oh.
Otra vez.
Sí.
Forrest.
Jugaba ping pong.
Jugaba, he was playing?
Ping pong. Forrest
No.
era un marveloso jugando de ping pong.
Okay. Jugamba de, I'm sorry, I can't hear that last
great
word.
Player. He was a marvelous ping pong player, wasn't he?
Oh, de ping pong.
Yeah.
Ping pong. Ping pong. Jugaba de ping pong. Sí. No me acordaba de eso. I was not remembering that. Sí, jugaba de ping pong. Ping pong. Bien. ¿Qué más? He used to play ping pong. Because he'd play that, he didn't do it one time. He had to have done it a lot, right? So we need jugaba. He did this a lot. He used to play jugaba. Okay, bien. Buena idea. Otra idea. We had the idea of soldado. Who had that one? Sí, otra vez.
Me.
Okay, otra vez. Forrest.
Era un soldado.
Era soldado. Era soldado. He used to be a soldier. Eso sí. Magnífico.
How do you form the imperfecto with an ER verb? I forget. I was going to say
Ia endings. Ia endings.
Forrest corría mucho.
Forrest corría mucho. Wow. Sí, verdad. Corría mucho. Corría en la cancha de fútbol americano.
Oh.
Corría en los campos.
Sí.
Corría en el oeste de Estados Unidos.
Monument Valley.
Eso sí, corría por Valle de Monumentos, ¿sí?
Sí.
Eso sí. Bien. Corría por todas partes. He ran everywhere. Corría mucho por todas partes. Por todas partes es como everywhere. All over. All over, everywhere. Por todas partes. Bien. Okay.
Forrest tenían uno amigo, Capitán Dan.
Tenía un amigo que se llamaba Capitán Dan. Sí. Forrest tenía un amigo que se llamaba, who was called. Que se llamaba is we're adding on a little sentence, attaching it to the main sentence. The main sentence is Forrest tenía un amigo. Pues tenía un amigo, he had a friend, and we need tenía. So look how well you're doing. You know it has to be imperfecto because if you had a friend, that's not an event. It's something that was there for a long time, right? And an indefinite period of time. Therefore, tenía un amigo, he had a friend, and whose name was? ¿Cómo se dice whose name was? Well, we tag on an extra little sentence within a sentence. That means what we call a clause. So, que means I'm adding on a clause. I'm going to bury this little sentence, connect it, make it kind of the caboose, the tail end to the main sentence of Force tenía un amigo. Que se llamaba? Who was called? And this se llamaba has to stay imperfecto because if somebody was called something, that's not an event. It's
Yeah.
not a one and done. It was always, right? Que se llamaba Capitán Dan. Ay, excelente, excelente. Bueno, ¿qué más? What else might we say? Hay mucho que pasa en la película. There's a lot that happens in that movie. ¿Hay otra idea o no? Perdón.
Tenía un hijo que se llamaba Forrest.
Ah, sí. Tenía un hijo que llamaba también Forrest. Tenía un hijo que se llamaba también Forrest. Ah, and también gives us that idea of he was called Forrest too.
Mhm.
Ah, eso es. And look how you just
I cheated.
hold that in from que se llamaba Capitán to just change it to que se llamaba Forrest. And I just added that idea of también because that is really kind of helpful because it means I'm tagging on the same thing, right? Okay, that word también means also or to, T-O-O. Okay, magnífico. ¿Qué más?
Baba apatos ortopídico en sus piernas.
Oh, sí, otra vez. One more time. First part, la primera parte.
Llevaba
Ah,
aparatos ortopédicos en sus piernas.
oh,
More braces on his legs.
oh, sí.
Young boy.
Oh, sí, sí, sí. Llevaba. He wore, are you talking about the braces that he used to wear?
Sí, sí.
Ah, sí. ¿Cómo se dice braces? Sí, I'm going to have to look that up. Sí, llevaba, sí.
Aparatos.
Aparatos, sí, bueno, sí, aparatos, aparatos de metal, ¿no? De metal, sí. Para apoyar a las piernas. He used to wear these metal brace things, right, to support his legs. Eso sí. Eso sí. Ok.
Tenía una caja de dulces chocolates.
Tenía una, sí, tenía una caja de chocolates, de muchos dulces. Sí, 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 eso es, sí. Tenía una caja. He had a chocolate box. Sí, la vida es como una caja de chocolates, ¿verdad? La vida es como una caja de chocolates. Life is like a chocolate box. Sí. Nunca se sabe. You never know. Nunca se sabe. You never know. Lo que vas a encontrar, what you're going to find. Ok, bien, bien, eso es. Ok, magnífico. ¿Hay otras ideas o no?
Jenny
No.
era sus novia.
Jenny era su novia. Sí, bien, excelente.
Pero ella tiene, I don't know, how would I say? She was problems. Tenía muchos problemas. Muchos problemas.
Excelente, pero ella tenía muchos problemas.
Oh, it's
Jenny,
muchos?
muchos problemas. Problema es una palabra masculina, sí, el problema. Entonces, muchos problemas. Exacto. Fantástico. Jenny era su novia, pero ella tenía muchos problemas. Tenía problemas con las drogas, ¿no? Tenía, creo, muchas parejas. Pues sí. Ok. Bien. Magnífico. ¿Cómo se dice? How would we say he lost his best friend in the war? ¿Cómo se dice to lose? ¿Alguien recuerda? Perder. Now, if we talk about he lost his best buddy, would that be an event or something that was repeated?
An event.
It would be an event. So we're going to take perder and we're going to make it into preterito. Forrest, perder. Per, it's an ER verb.
Perdió.
Perdió.
Yeah.
Perdió a su mejor amigo durante la guerra de Vietnam. Forrest perdió a su mejor amigo durante la guerra de Vietnam. Bien, ok. A su mejor amigo. That's not to his friend. It's there as the a personal. When a human being receives the action and the friend received the action of being that action of perder, lose, right? We need an a in front of a human being who is a direct object. Su mejor amigo is the direct object of that sentence, and it's a human being, so we need a su mejor amigo. Perdió a su mejor amigo durante la guerra de Vietnam. Okay. You heard some examples of met for the first time in the Frida Kahlo movie. Let's see if you can use conocer to meet for the first time in preterito. ¿Cómo se dice he met the president? Forrest. Conocer.
¿Se conoce?
That would be presente. You're on the right track. You just need to flip it into a different tense. That's all. And we
Conocer.
don't need to say because it's, yeah. Instead of conoce, he's meeting right now. We're going to make it pretérito. Conoció. Eso es, sí. Conoció al presidente de Estados Unidos. Forrest. Because I had a period in there, I wanted to make that capital. Engrandecer. Forrest conoció al presidente de Estados Unidos. Bien. Ok. ¿Algo más o no?
Okay, Forrest y Capitán Dan empezaron una empresa, se llamaba Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Forrest y Capitán Dan empezaron una empresa. Empresa es company. You can use empresa. You could also equally well use compañía, which sounds more like the English word, but empresa is really a better word to use. Forrest y Capitán Dan empezaron una empresa que se llamaba Sí, que se llamaba
Bubba gum shrimp.
Bubba Gump. Bubba Gump. Shrimp. Shrimp. Shrimp en español es, bueno, pues depende. They use different words for shrimp. Camarones or gambas. Camarones. Que se llamaba, que se llamaba, let's use a shrimp word because I know that. Que se llamaba camarones, shrimp, camarones, Bubba Gump. Okay. Que se llamaba camarones Bubba Gump. Excelente. Okay.
Can I go back and ask about the mejor amigo?
Sí.
A word like mejor you put in front of the word?
Buena pregunta. Sí. First perdió a su mejor amigo. Sí. The word best or better, in this case, it means best. This goes in front of the verb, in front of the noun. And you think, wait a minute, why does it do that? Well, just because that word best does.
And worst too, best and worst?
Worst would be the same, right? Worst. So if you said your worst enemy, su peor, peor, P-E-O-R, peor es worst. El peor enemigo de alguien, ¿sí? El peor enemigo. Como por ejemplo, el peor enemigo de Superman es Lex Luthor. El peor enemigo. Words like best and worst will come in front of the nouns. This is contrary to what you're usually, because we say things like, compré un carro rojo. I bought a red car. So how do I know if it's carro rojo, but it's mejor amigo? Okay, what's a good way for me to explain this? Carro rojo, car red, gets that word order with rojo, red, after carro, because it's a purely descriptive. Because it paints a picture in your head. When the description paints a very pop-up, immediate picture in your head, it follows the noun. I would say if I had to guess a percentage, probably 75% of adjectives, descriptive words, paint an actual picture in your head, okay, of what that thing looks like or sounds like or acts like, okay? But a word like mejor just kind of gives you like a category. It doesn't tell you that the friend was short or cute or ugly or strong or weak or brave. It doesn't tell you anything really graphic about that word amigo. Mejor just says best.
That makes sense.
You will often hear that word good also come before the noun a lot. Perdió a un buen amigo. He lost a good friend. Because again, good is, I don't want to say kind of blah, but good doesn't really paint a picture in your head of physically or and how that person behaved, how that person really was. Good is just good. It's kind of a vanilla word. Yeah. Mejor says best, but it's kind of vanilla. It doesn't really paint a vivid picture in your brain. Yeah. So maybe even 20% of your adjectives, a really small number, come in front. Adjectives that talk about quantity always come in front. Muchos amigos, many friends. Pocos amigos, few friends, because it just paints a quantity, not what they actually looked like or behaved like. Bien? Is that a good?
Yes.
Yeah, adequate description. And you get a feel for that later on. I hate to say that. Nobody likes to hear that. You just get a feel for that, but you do. Okay. Bueno, hay otra idea con forest, ¿o no? Ok, vale. Pasamos a otra foto. And because we've got a limited amount of time left, we're going to go, wow! Guau, 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 guau. ¿De qué película viene esta foto? What movie does this come from?
Patton.
Patton. Wow, sí. Ok, bien, 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 bien. Sí, la foto, y es una foto muy famosa. La foto muy famosa viene de la película Patton. Ok. ¿Qué pasó antes? Sí. Aquí podemos decir, vemos en presente. In present. Podemos ver, podemos decir, we can say, vemos vemos al general Patton. Y él está saludando al grupo de soldados. Bien, sí, está saludando. Right now, he is saluting and greeting, ¿sí? Saludando al grupo de soldados. Ok. A ver, bueno, ¿qué podemos decir? What else might we say? ¿Qué podemos decir? En el pasado. Podemos escribir, podemos contar un evento, no importa, doesn't matter. You can say anything about what happened.
Patton estaba general durante la guerra mundial 2.
Sí, okay. Patton era, and you might even use fue, depende. It really depends on the feel you want to convey. If you want to convey the feeling of, now I'm going to describe more things about Patton, you might choose era. It's not wrong. But if you want to if you're only going to say and end it there, well, he was a soldier in this period, then fue would be more appropriate. So it depends on the feel you want to give. If you're just identifying, he was a soldier in these years, then fue. But if you want to describe more about what he used to do or was like, then you would pick era. So both of those might be correct, depending on the other things you're going to say about Patton. Okay. So, era, or using era or fue to say was, is always one of those very tricky things. And it depends on how much you're going to say and how much you're going to cut it. So, okay, I'll give you an example. Un ejemplo. Fue soldado. Fue soldado. Now I'm going to limit it. No, fue general. Fue general durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial. This is one of those. Oh, here's another one. We got an adjective in front and behind.
Oh.
Segunda comes in front because it talks about position, which doesn't tell you anything significant other than order. Yeah. Just like quantity, position, first, second, third, fourth, will always come in front. Okay. Segunda Guerra Mundial. Mundial comes after because it tells you that it happened all over the whole mundo. World. So mundial is worldwide. Worldwide. Okay. Fue general durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial would be more appropriate for fue because I'm limiting it to that time period of Segunda Guerra Mundial. Okay. But we might equally use era. Patton, era, Era un famoso general de Estados Unidos. Now that just, and probably I'm going to tell more, right? So, era works fine there. ¿Entienden la diferencia? Do you understand the difference between those two? It's a very subtle thing. It's very, very, very subtle. Here, fue probably would be your natural go-to because I'm limiting it to a time period. Or if I gave a certain number of years, okay? But when I give a specific chunk of time, probably fue is going to be the better choice. But would you be misunderstood if you plugged era in there? No, you would not be misunderstood. Okay, so you see where I'm going with that. Okay, vale. ¿Qué más podemos decir? What else can we say about this guy? Or this movie? O la película? O los eventos?
I typed this in, so this is not off my brain, but le gritó a un soldado enfermo.
Patton le gritó a un soldado enfermo. And probably it would be more appropriate to put this word in, but you may not know this word, herido. Enfermo, sí, you're carrying the right idea. Enfermo, sick, but herido means injured, wounded.
Oh.
Because he was a wounded guy. So yeah, enfermo, sick, but really he was herido. He had been wounded. Yeah, sí, okay. Entonces, sí, es vocabulario. This is, vocabulary thing. Herido. Le gritó a un soldado herido. Y podemos decir, Patton le pegó a un soldado herido. Pegó.
Yes.
Le
That's
pegó.
a better word.
Sí, le gritó. No, son los dos. Le pegó y le... okay. How can we link those? We can link those by saying le gritó y le pegó. Connect it with an E. Le gritó y le pegó. Boom. A un soldado herido. Vamos a añadir, because we're going to add something. We're going to say he thought the guy was a coward.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Okay, let's attach a because word. Porque creyó o creía, mejor, creía, or I could say pensaba. Either way, either verb would be good. Creía or pensaba que el soldado era cobarde. Porque creía que el soldado era cobarde, porque pensaba que el soldado era cobarde. Here, fue would probably not be appropriate. Just era. ¿Por qué? Why do you think? Era cobarde, coward.
That happens. It's descriptive.
It's a description. He thought the guy was a chicken shit. Yes, that's what but being a coward is a descriptive thing. It's not an event. It's not like he ran away or he shot himself in the foot. Oh, those would be events. He shot himself in the foot, right? He ran away from the battle. Those would be events. But just that he was a coward, we're not saying this happened in a year. It just... describing what his character was like. So it's there, fue would sound off to them because era cobarde, you're talking about what the guy used to be like. And that's just flat out description. never an event. ¿Sí? Bien. Ok. Excelente. Vamos a ver. Bueno, son las 11:30. Would you like me to send the extra set of pictures so you can ponder some responses for next week and
Sí.
maybe look up some words and yeah. See?
Yes.
Bien?
Sí.
Okay. Because these
Can I
are
ask a question on that
Sí, sí.
photo? I was trying to put it together in my mind that George C. Scott was the actor who played Patton. And what I want to know is, the verb to play there, is it the same as playing a sport, or is there a different word for to play a role?
to play a role. Yes. The play a role phrase is not what you would expect. It's hacer. Okay, that kind of, because hacer is make or do. Okay, so far so good. Hacer el papel. Papel is,
The paper?
yeah. Papel not only means paper, it means a role.
Oh,
So
Huh.
hacer el papel means play a role, and that is used all the time to talk about actors. See, so we could say, but now he played the role. He did that once and it was over with, right?
Right.
So,
right.
and now, and double whammy, hacer is very irregular. Oh, crap. Hacer is very irregular. All right. So it got hice, hiciste, hizo, hicimos, hicieron. If George C. Scott did it, it's got to be an LA. Step forward. Hizo, H-I-Z. Oh, I know. Weirdness all over. Hizo el papel. George C. Scott hizo el papel. Hizo el papel del General Patton.
Or I was thinking also, George C. Scott fue el actor que hizo el papel de Patton.
Que hizo el papel del General
Patton.
Patton en la película. Perfecto, sí. Eso es, perfecto, perfecto, perfecto. Muy bien, muy bien.
Gracias.
Ok. Fantástico. Qué buenas preguntas. Wow, what good questions. Ok. Vale, magnífico. Entonces, a continuación, so to continue with that, I will send you that with the ideas that we fleshed out so that you've got some ideas. And I'm going to put your idea, I'm going to add that in later on, Marcos, to the patent part, so that when you see it, you will see that written out. And you're going to have 3 or 4 more movies to talk about for next week, but you'll have some prep time to think about it. And if I can find my next episode of the Frida Kahlo thing, I will include that in your email as well. ¿Está bien?
sí, gracias.
Magnífico. Excelente, excelente. Ok, entonces nos vemos más tarde